Meditation retreats are often said to be life-changing, transformative. So let's talk about them. I have the most familiarity with Buddhist-style meditation retreats, but again, I'd like to reiterate that it's not just for Buddhists. Now, most meditation retreats have some components that are consistent from retreat to retreat. Not exactly, but these are like the general things that you can expect. So 7 days is a common duration for retreats to be. And most of these 7 days are done in complete silence. Of course, on the first day, it's not silent because, you need to be introduced and things need to be explained. And the last day, it's usually a time to decompress, talk to your retreat mates, and then you can leave. So Buddhist meditation retreats usually have 2 meals a day. One early in the morning, and another one before noon. There's no dinner, and that can be pretty painful. There's no killing of anything during the 7 days. You can't have your phone. There's no form of entertainment, and that includes things like reading and writing. The no killing rule is mainly for insects, like especially mosquitoes in like the tropical countries. Insects are like a massive issue. And this is actually one of the hardest rules to follow, I would say. And just talking a little bit about the schedule, usually you wake up at like 4 or 5 a.m. And this could be like a bell that goes off at 4 a.m. and everyone wakes up. And the meditations are scattered throughout the day, usually in bursts of 30 minutes. These can be guided by the teacher, or these can be silent on your own, or it could be walking as well. Depends on the retreat. And there's usually some talks by the teacher. These are called Dhamma talks. And this is just like the teacher going through like the philosophy of meditation, the context that it came from and how it can apply to your life. And usually the teachers also do one-on-one sessions with you. So they just check in with you to see how you're doing, see if you have any questions or if you need any help or guidance on any particular aspect of the meditations. So my first retreat was done in Bali. And this retreat is called Bali Usada. Link is in the description below if you want to check it out. Obviously, I'm not paid for it, but I always do this. I always prefer people to go there because I think it's a really great retreat. And I first heard of this retreat from my dad's friend who went to it, and he thought it was so transformative and so helpful. He told my dad told me, and this was when I was like pretty depressed. So my dad was like, oh, you should go check it out. And then after like 6 months or a year of like saying, nope, I'm not going for that. At one point, I bit the bullet. I'm like, you know what? I think I'm just going to go. I'll just go check it out, see how it goes. So at the time, I didn't know anything about meditation. I did try some online guided meditations, but there wasn't a single one which I stayed awake for. But I went there as a Hail Mary, thinking maybe it could help me. Just give it a shot. I didn't know what to expect, but I was quite pleasantly surprised. But yeah, it was quite nice. It was quite quaint. It was a really nice place, really green, really homey. The beds were pretty comfortable enough. The toilets were completely fine. The food was not bad. So when I got there, I was like, okay, I think I can do this. And I had a pack of cigarettes in my bag because at the time, that wasn't when I fully quit yet. I had a pack of gudang garam. I kept it in my bag, like just in case. Something like a security blanket, maybe. So we got up at like 4:30 or 5, and then we did our breakfast, and then we did like our exercise together. It's not really intense exercise, it's more like Tai Chi, Qigong kind of stuff. And then we got to meditation, and for me, even on the second day, it was hard already. Like I was hungry, I was uncomfortable because like of the mosquitoes. I was uncomfortable because like I had to like cover up and use like a blanket to cover my arm. And this was to protect myself from mosquitoes. Like of course I use mosquito repellent like all the time, everywhere. But mosquitoes just really like me. Even with mosquito repellent, they'll still bite me. So in retreats in these kind of tropical countries, it's either get bitten or cover up even when it's super warm and humid. Pick your poison. And so for the meditations, there was some guidance, but I didn't know if I was doing it right. I couldn't stay awake. I couldn't catch my attention when it left. Sometimes my mind would drift like the whole entire time until the bell rang. and it was time to go into exercise and close the meditation. So it was pretty bad. Like, I didn't know if things were going through to me. I didn't know if I was doing it right. I didn't know if it was helping. And it wasn't long until I started falling asleep during the meditations. Even on the second day, I was already falling asleep almost every session. I would be like, drifting off from side to side, catching myself before my head hit the ground. And there was an attendant there who had his eye on me. He came up to me and he woke me up every time I started dozing off and drifting. And it was so painfully boring during the breaks. Like, I was so used to and conditioned to use my phone every time to occupy my mind for every little second I wasn't doing anything that required focus. And I didn't have my phone. This was the first time in my life where I just couldn't distract myself when I wanted to. But I was so hungry too. I ate a lot at the time. That was when I was trying to gain weight and tapering off. So my stomach was used to having so much food inside of it. And during this first 2 days, I was starving. And one person also broke down. She started crying during the meditation, and a teacher talked to her and everything, but it kind of disincentivized me to continue. So there were all of these things that were happening, making me uncomfortable, and I honestly really wanted to leave. But I was thinking, if I left, I would have to go to my teacher and be like, yo, can I have my phone back? I want to call a cab. I want to call an Uber to get out of here. And I was thinking, do Ubers even come here in the middle of the forest? It's also like going to be a whole thing to go to the teacher and tell them I want to leave. I was like, you know what? I just can't be bothered. I'm just going to continue and stick it through. And so day 1 and day 2, pretty painful for me. Day 3, however, this was when things started to turn around. And that was a little bit about retreats and my experience with them. In the video coming tomorrow, I'm going to be talking more about how the retreat transformed my life. And so leave a like, subscribe, and stay tuned. And it must have been like 2 or 3 hours when my first flashback hit. And in this flashback, I was taken back to my childhood from when I was 3 or 4 years old. It showed me how I always attached myself and overly clung to people or things that I cared about. I didn't know how to let go.